In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you by Smooth My Balls. Are you sick of snagging your nuts or cutting yourself with a generic Bic razor or generic clipper? Well, now you don't have to worry. Smooth My Balls offers a 5-star below-the-belt care for men, starting with the Turf Chopper 3.0, the next level razor that provides a very smooth and clean finish with no cuts on your sack. And coming in for the closer, you got the Pube Muncher 1.0, a compact mini vac that cleans up the job with no hair left behind. Head over to smoothmyballs.com today and use code LEAGUE at checkout for 15% off your top of the line men's grooming kit. Again, that's LEAGUE, LEAGUE, for 15% off. Smooth My Balls, shave like a pro.
Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a leading supplement and nutrition company that provides everything from pre-workout and protein to recovery supplements. If you're looking for a healthy pick-me-up, Rep also offers Raise Energy, a zero sugar drink that helps with workout and recovery, mental focus as well. Head over to repsports.com today and use code LEAGUE for 15% off your order. That's LEAGUE for 15% off.
Golf kicks. Tired of wearing the same old boring golf shoes? Not the most comfortable? Now you don't have to worry. Customize all types of shoes, from Crocs to flip-flops, sneakers to boat shoes, and wear them in style while you rip it up on the course. Head over to golfkicks.com and use code OWN20 at checkout to get a 20% discount on your order. That's OWN20. Screw your shoes.
Streamer Loot. Want to rep the best up-and-coming sports podcast? Of course you do. Head over to streamerloot.co today and check out our first line of merch. We have t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, and stickers. Again, that is streamerloot.co to check out our merch. Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Aaron Rodgers finally gets offered a long-term extension in Green Bay. And is it Tebow time in Jacksonville?
There goes that man's jockstrap. Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports. There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship. Green Bay's got it this year. Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
All right, again, everybody, welcome to the show. It is Tuesday. We'll have a double banger for you guys today. We got our regular episode this afternoon, and then we got an interview coming out for you guys later tonight. So it's going to be a busy day for us. But diving into the busy sports world itself, over in the NFL, let's start things off. Aaron Rodgers, what's going on with his situation in Green Bay at this point?
So Ian Rappaport has reported that the Green Bay Packers have offered Aaron Rodgers a significant long-term deal. No numbers or anything has came out as far as certain statistics about the contract. Devontae Adams did come out and say yesterday about how it would change a lot if Rodgers wasn't there, and it doesn't mean potentially that he'd be gone after this season when his contract expires, since he didn't sign his extension. He says it doesn't mean potentially I'd be gone, but I definitely have to do some extra thinking if my guy wasn't here. Basically referring to Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to be there, and I guess we're going to see where things go. I mean, to me, all indications point to a deal getting done here and us handing the keys to the kingdom to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good to see finally some, I guess, upbeat news on this situation. Seems like the ball's in Aaron's court at this point. Obviously, no details on that offer have been extended, and we probably won't hear about them until after it gets signed or even gets denied. And even if it gets denied, the only way we'll hear about it is if somebody leaks that information out, because otherwise, why talk about a deal that didn't go through unless somebody leaks it out? So, again, seems like the ball's in Rodgers' court. Seems like he wants to stay in Green Bay more than the media has him out to be, either with like AJ Hawk, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, John Kuhn, all these ex guys that Rodgers played with have all reached out to him during this time frame of the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they've all said, all right, everybody pump the brakes. His head is in a better spot than the media has him out to be. So yeah, obviously a great move for Green Bay to kind of get their head out of their ass and offer him hopefully what's a good offer. Again, nothing's on the table or nothing's known yet, but I mean, hopefully something good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the Packers also, news coming out of Green Bay, they came out and put out publicly how they are going to be bringing in quarterbacks to try to fill that last spot that they have open at quarterback position. They're bringing in Chad Kelly and Kurt Beneckert, both who have not really had any time in the NFL to play and show their skills. They've been practice squad guys or QB2. And yeah, it's going to be cool for them to get to come to Green Bay and see what Green Bay is all about. Yeah, I hope one of them, gets a job because that's what they do for a living. And it'd be nice to see everybody happy in this whole situation. But yeah, it seems like everything is pointing towards Packers making a Super Bowl run with Aaron Rodgers this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's kind of, there's a little bit of weight taken off the shoulders, at least for the time being, that it seems like all the media chases the bad side of the story, and now it seems like there's, for once, something good to report about.
We live in the clickbait era. That's all it
Exactly.
is, dude. Any words that can stir some shit is going to get clicks.
For sure. Speaking of stirring up stuff, the Jacksonville Jaguars are expected to sign Tim Tebow to a tight end position later this week. No details, again, have been solidified as far as the deal. I assume it's going to be a 1-year deal, as everybody else has been over the past year. But yeah, do you think this is a good move for them? I know we kind of talked about it when it was rumors a week or two back, but now that it seems like it's almost a done deal, what do you think Tim Tebow is going to bring to the table in Jacksonville?
There's two different opinions I have on this whole thing. And I think the early numbers for this contract was around the $9.6 million mark for this one season. So that's rough figures around what he potentially is going to be offered. Back to my 2 points on this thing. One, great to see ESPN went through a wildfire craze when it was Tebow time. He brought the ratings up he was talked about all the time, all that type of stuff. Then he goes and plays baseball, still all over ESPN, still doing his thing. Now he wants to come back and play football. Urban Meyer did end up buying a house this offseason right next door to Tim Tebow, and people have joked that he's got Timmy running routes in the backyard and he's tossing him the ball. And I personally feel, one, this move is more of a coaching role that Tim Tebow will be taking if he does get on the field. I'm not saying he's not going to get catches and stuff like that, but I feel like this is a role to get him in the building to transition into being a coach after one season or 2 seasons, however long he lasts. I feel like this is his last transition into becoming a coach. Urban Meyer and him obviously have a great relationship. So they've had that since Florida, back when they were there for the Gators. And yeah, so that's my take on that is, one, he's trying to get him in the building to become a coach. And my second take on this thing is I'm just really disappointed in the NFL as a whole for Tim Tebow being able to go through all of what he's gone through and still come back and get a job, and all these guys who come out and still get jobs. And yet Colin Kaepernick is still not on an NFL roster, or at least has been given, call it whatever you want, about his whole tryout thing that he had last year. I think that was all bullshit. I really feel like there was no NFL team that actually was interested in giving him a shot at that time. They were just checking the boxes per the NFL asking them to. And it's really sad to see, because he's definitely could be one of the top 32 quarterbacks in this league and still do a hell of a job. And he's a hell of a person too. And I don't know. I just really feel like either Tim Tebow should pump the brakes on him signing a contract and say, well, what about Cap? Or the NFL should come out and at least address a full-on sincere apology to the guy, because it's not like, don't get me wrong, it's not like Kaepernick hasn't made any money since then. He's obviously still made money, and there's a documentary that's being made about him and all this other type of shit. But at the same time, he wanted to be a quarterback, and you took that from him over something that everybody in the goddamn country pretty much agrees with. And he even asked like people of the military on what he should do, and that's what he was told. So it's like, I don't know. It just gets my blood boiling to a certain point, seeing how fucking disgusting the NFL is in what they've, like, their own government, like we say all the time.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's been a developing story, and like you said, it like at the time when Kaepernick was doing what he was doing, obviously it was very controversial and turned a lot of heads and upset a lot of people. But in hindsight, he had the whole social injustice thing on, like,
He had all eyes in the entire world on the NFL.
yeah,
Think
and
how much money that's bringing in.
exactly. And he got a jump on the whole social injustice thing way before everybody else did over the past really year and a half, with the BLM movement and everything that happened with that.
But look at like what happened with that movement specifically. Like, he was the first one to come out and like do his thing, because he was doing it because he actually believed in it and he was doing it. Look at all of like the younger generation. They pretty much, it seems like, got involved in Black Lives Matter as like a trend, as like a hip thing to do, try to get clicks, views on TikTok, Instagram, all this. Like, oh, I'm trying to help the world, but I'm only doing it because I'm trying to get famous. Like, it's disgusting to see our society being turned in like to that tech oriented of all about clicks, all about likes, all about followers, all about all that when none of that fucking matters. And it matters about everybody being a decent human being and treating everybody with respect and how you would want to be treated. Like, as cliche as it is to say, if you treated everybody how you wanted to be treated and expected to be treated, this world would be such a better place. But because of the money and how technology has brainwashed basically all this younger generation, and that's why like suicide, depression, all this stuff is going up and up and up and up and up, is because all it is stirring the pot. Like with this whole Kaepernick thing too, like how you mentioned, he was the first one to do it. Yes, he was. Then look at what happened after. All the other players who did that got cut from their jobs. All, that whole thing where there was like a handful of guys, and then you see the whole country come together. And yeah, some people were doing it for the right reasons. Obviously you can't say everybody because you don't really know. But a lot of the people who jumped on that trend of like, oh, we care, just to get the likes and clicks, is like the NFL doing the same thing with their having people go watch him do his tryout thing. It's like the same thing, just getting clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry for cutting you off, dude.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, it's definitely a blood boiling, controversial topic. No matter when it has been brought up, really over the past five plus years since Kaepernick's kind of made his exit and try to now get back in the league. But yeah, he's still a hell of a quarterback. Still watching his videos. He doesn't seem like he missed a beat whatsoever. He just, like, whatever how it played out with the end with like his contract, and nobody else wanted him and he moved. Like, I honestly would have taken him developing into whatever he would have been at this point over Jimmy G right now if he would have stayed in San Francisco. I think just because Kaepernick brings that extra versatility with being a mobile guy.
Yeah, like they'd have a Super Bowl.
100%. And especially 2 years ago in their Super Bowl with the Chiefs, you don't have to worry about Garoppolo's mobility. He only passes the ball 15 to 30 times tops a game as it is. You replace him with Kaepernick, that changes the whole dynamic of that football team, and they could have won that Super Bowl. They barely lost it. to the Chiefs, who again were another great team that year, really the last 2 years. So yeah, just kind of last point on it again. It'd be great to see him get a shot. Hopefully some team kind of breaks the what the NFL has these teams set out to do and try to keep Kaepernick locked out of the league. But I don't know. Hopefully, some team kind of gives him the nod next year, and maybe with everybody shifting around next year, with the cap going up, and guys, you're going to see guys moving all over the league next year. So hopefully, his name gets thrown in the hat as well for next season.
You'd like to think so, but yet again, at the same time, the NFL, I feel like if there were any owner or GM that would want to do this, I feel like the NFL would say, hey, you realize if you do this, this is going to happen to you. I feel like at the utmost, I feel like there's no way the NFL lets that happen. Like, they can't go so far back on what they've said. You know what I mean? Like, they clearly went at that moment that it happened, they had support the guy or fucking go against him. And they chose to go full on against him and drag him through the mud. So you can't, for everything that they've went through, like to tarnish his name and do what they did to get him out of the league, I don't think that they can fucking walk that line back that far.
No.
And Kaepernick, would you want to go play in the league for knowing how they truly feel about you? Fuck no.
Exactly. And two, it could literally just be a short stint where they're like, all right, this team signed to a 1-year deal, make him happy. And then after that, you don't have to keep him anymore. It could turn into something like that, where he's literally sits as a backup QB for 1 year. And then once his 1-year contract is up, he's out of the league again. So,
and he's fully aware of that, I believe. And that's why I don't think he would I don't feel like he would take the opportunity if it were like presented to him. But I just feel like his name should be mentioned in all of this before Tim Tebow's name even came up for a job.
yeah,
like,
for
that's
sure.
just piss poor by the league. But we can come back to this later when I dive into something else related kind of to this matter. But let's switch it over here. Tight end Sean Culkin from the Kansas City Chiefs was released after wanting his 2021 contract converted to Bitcoin. I don't know if that was the exact reason why they cut him. Obviously, probably not. They did just rebuild that team into like that offensive line, and obviously Kelsey out on the end. They built that front into a monster for this season. So letting him go, saving some money, and I feel like that was a good move for the Chiefs. Somebody's definitely going to pick him up because I feel like he's a decent player.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think it was related to him wanting his salary a certain way. I think it was just a team move, whether it was money wise or just he didn't fit the scheme of the offense of what they wanted to do this coming year. Yeah, he doesn't have like a lot of like stats or anything like that. I don't think he really played a whole lot. Obviously, Kelsey is was very healthy and highly productive guy. So unless he starts dropping passes or fumbling balls or gets hurt, Culkin went to saw the field. So, yeah, I'm sure somebody else will pick him up. That tight end position is starting to turn into a very versatile position where you're a tight end, you're a receiver, you're an extra tackle on the line. Tight ends wear a lot of different hats. So I definitely see him getting picked up in this offseason elsewhere.
Absolutely. And then the last point I had on the NFL, I don't know if you had anything else, but Chris Berman signs a multi-year extension with ESPN. So whoop, you're going to be able to hear that for years and years to come here. That's so exciting to hear that. The energy that he's provided to ESPN for a long time, especially commentating the game of football. Love the dude. Pretty much everybody likes hearing him commentate, and it's good to see that he signed an extension here. So shout out to you, Chris.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely been one of the characters that's, again, you have guys that kind of have their catchphrases in the booth at every level. Crap, I'm trying to think of his name from the NBA. I'm drawing a blank, but he's always going bang, bang when somebody hits like a clutch shot in a game. Chris Berman, again, one of those guys that has his go-to woo kind of thing, kind of almost like a Ric Flair vibe, but But yeah, great to see ESPN keep him. I'd imagine he'd stick with ESPN until he decides to retire. I don't know how old the guy is. He's got to be getting up there in age, but
I
still,
guess he's early 70s.
yeah. So yeah, good for ESPN to keep him. ESPN's been kind of one of those platforms with the NFL that's been kind of a laughing stock the past couple of years with uh, Booger McFarland being on the Monday Night Football team, and that whole broadcast kind of getting revamped for this next year. So I'm excited to see how that changes, and it can only really go up. Monday Night Football is an iconic staple of sports, and that team that they had the past couple of years is just not doing it for me. So
Yeah, and I did him a disservice. He's actually 66, not early 70s. So
potato.
Mhm.
Once you get over 60, you're kind of all. As soon as you can order off the senior citizen menu, you're all in the same ballpark.
So that's 65.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else on the NFL. I guess we could switch gears over here to the NBA. Kind of the biggest point really over in the NBA is Russell Westbrook notching his 182nd triple double last night, passing Oscar Robertson. Again, one of the great managers of the game in Russell Westbrook. Unfortunately, he's never got himself a ring yet. Hopefully, I don't know the Wizards unless they kind of revamp that team. Really, it's him and Bradley Beal running the show over there, and after that, it drops off quite a bit. So, unless he tries to find a different team, I don't know if he'd ever retire with a ring. I mean, but aside from that, I guess the question I have for you, with Russell Westbrook being the triple double king, would you put him in the conversation of being a top 5 point guard of all time? Again, doesn't have a ring. I feel like it'd be a no brainer if he did have a ring, but just as he stands right now,
I feel like he's the greatest basketball player, hands down, to not win a ring. Maybe I shouldn't say that because like Barkley, he didn't win one. Gary Payton, I don't think he won one. Like there's a handful of really good players who didn't win a ring, but I'd put him in the top probably 5 players who've never won a ring all time. Like dude is phenomenal to watch. He's changed basketball. One thing about the Oscar Robertson thing, I know I was watching ESPN and they mentioned in Oscar Robertson's first 6 seasons, he had 163 of those triple doubles, and Russell only had 33 in his first 6 years. After the 6-year mark, Russell's had like 160 something, and Oscar Robertson only had like 20 something after his. So it just goes to show he's gotten better and better as he's continued to age. He really takes care of himself. He really never misses games. He's always out there playing. He doesn't really get involved in shit off the court, really, which is good to see. But top 5 all-time point guards, dude.
I mean, obviously he's got a ways to go statistically, but he's only the second player, or no, the 4th player to have 20,000 points and 8,000 assists. I believe he did that this week as well. And he joins that list with, I believe, Wilt, LeBron, and Oscar Robinson.
Yeah. First, I would go Magic. He'd be number 1.
But again, that's final career stats. Obviously, Westbrook has probably got at least I'd say 5 years left before he starts to hit a decline. So he's got a lot of records that he's probably going to break between now and the end of his career.
I know. I'm just going top 5 of all time. I'd put Magic at 1. I'd probably put Steph at 2. I'd probably put Oscar Robinson at 3, Russ at 4, just because Oscar does have his 1 championship. That's why I'd put him there. And then 5th, or even man. So I take that back. It's going to be Magic. probably John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Steph, and Russ. Is probably what I'd do it. So yeah, I'd say he's probably top 5 of all time, just for what he's done to the game. I mean, if he doesn't win a championship, I don't think that will turn. He's still getting to the Hall of Fame, no question. But like what he's done to basketball and changed the way that it's played with the intensity that it's played with, like everybody jumps that is that explosive now, where I feel like he's top 5. I feel like he has to be.
Yeah, that list you kind of put out there, I definitely agree with that. Obviously, when you're in a top 5 like that, a couple guys you can kind of interchange here and there, but again, he's definitely top or right on the edge of the top 5 right now as it stands. If he continues to play for 10 more years at the same intensity, same level, he could move up to third, second, all time right there. I don't know if I'd ever put him ahead of Curry just because Curry has the titles and is the greatest shooter of all time. So I'd never put him ahead of Curry, but yeah.
Right. And like at that 5th spot too, you could interchange that with Steve Nash, Chris Paul. They've never won titles and they've changed how basketball is played that same way too. So those guys are right there as well at that 5th spot.
For sure. Yeah, we're living in a fun time where we get to see arguably
especially for basketball,
2 of the best point guards in Curry and Westbrook playing at the same time. And then you got Giannis, Durant, LeBron, like all these.
Yeah, dude, we've been blessed in almost every sport.
Yeah.
McDavid, Austin Matthews, and then for golf, you had Spieth, you have Justin Thomas, and now you have even the younger guys, the Morikawas, the whatever, and then basketball, exactly. You have Steph, and then now we have Zion, the young guy, little Lonzo or little Ball. We've really been blessed. Baseball, Mike Trout, arguably the greatest fucking baseball player to ever play the game. Like we've been really blessed, I feel like, with the talent that we've got to be around.
For sure.
Like we've had generational players in almost every single sport that we've got to watch. Like we got to watch the end of Tiger. Who knows if that's like the end, but like we still got to watch the end of that amazing run that he had when we were kids. And it was like, man, like it's amazing time to be alive, to be a sports fan, I should say.
For sure. And one last point I have, at least on the NBA, with the Milwaukee Bucks, they dropped their game last night against the Spurs, 146-125. Again, only a couple games left. I still like where they're at the 3 spot. They're now a full game back from the Nets. They do still have the tiebreaker with the Nets, so they need the Nets to lose one of their last couple games and the Bucks win one. And if they're tied, Milwaukee moves that number 2 spot. But whether Milwaukee ends up 2 or 3, I still like where they're at. And they have back-to-back games. So they have back home tonight against the Magic. Again, these last couple games, I don't really have a lot of weight behind them, unless the Bucks are really chasing for that number 2 spot. But I mean, it doesn't look like they're too concerned about staying at 3. So,
how many games do they have left?
The Bucks 3.
They played a regular 82, right?
No, they played a shortened season as well. I think it's like 70. Let me see what they're 43-25. So they have 68 games played so far. And they have 4 left. So it's a 72 game season.
So they knocked off 10 games.
Yeah. So but yeah, 4 games left, not 3. But yeah, I still like where they're at. But
yeah, news that I have on the NBA here. Alex Rodriguez, also known as A-Rod, him and his team are very close to finalizing the deal for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They plan to take on ownership of that team, so that's going to be pretty cool to see. And then the last thing is, with the win last night by the Golden State Warriors, they officially clinch the play-in tournament spot. What do you think Like, are they the most feared team right now, do you think, in the West?
Yeah, I mean, if they can make it out of the play-in tournament and make it series play, Golden State's going to be one of those scary teams. Again, when you got Steph Curry on your team and he's doing what he does night after night, you can't really. There's no game plan for that. When that dude steps across half court, he's dangerous. You can't. There's no game plan for that. So long as Curry stays hot, again, it's going to be hard to take out Golden State in a series. They're still a little inconsistent, so they could fall. They could lose out of the play-in tournament and not make the playoffs at all. I don't see that happening, especially if they do end up playing the Lakers. If LeBron doesn't come back and can't get healthy, and that team doesn't get their mesh back together, Golden State could give the reigning champs an early exit, which would be super crazy to see, because basically Steph Curry would dethrone LeBron and AD by himself, which would be, again, just crazy to see. But yeah, I mean, Golden State is a scary team no matter what, when Curry's on the floor. So as long as they stay hot, I could see them making a deep run in the West, especially with the Jazz really being the only fully healthy team along with the Suns. Aside from that, you got guys who are out. You got Jamal Murray out in Denver. You still have LeBron out with the Lakers, the Clippers, even though you got PG3 and Kawhi Leonard on that team. They've been obviously one of the top teams in the West, but quietly being one of the top teams in the West. So again, it's going to be interesting what happens in the West. All eyes are on Curry and the Warriors, though, so that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this year, for the first time in LeBron's career, I think he falls short. This is the type of year that he's never dealt with before, being injured multiple times, missing stretches of games, also with the COVID whole thing, playing tournament. I feel like everything is just lining up for an ending almost. I feel like I could see LeBron stepping away soon. Like, he's already almost done obviously he ain't ever catching Jordan in rings. Like, he can't go 6 for 6 anymore. So
yeah,
it's like, I don't know, for how much he does off of the court, I feel like he really is going to step away from basketball. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this ankle injury is nagging him that bad. Who knows if he hangs him up, dude, and just moves on to something else.
Yeah, I know he's definitely getting to the latter half or part of his career in the last couple of years here. I know he's been talking that it'd be cool for him to play with his son. I think his son is now going to be either a sophomore or junior in high school. So
he's got 4 years.
Yeah, he's got a while to wait yet.
And that's early. That's if Bronny's superstar.
Yeah, he's got to be the real deal. He'd basically go one. He'd have to go one and done in college. If he goes all 4 years in college, or even
now
2
they
years
can
in
go
college.
to the G League. They can go to the G League instead now.
Yeah.
Right away.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is all just a play that LeBron is saying that this ankle injury is getting to him, and it's all just a hustle, and they're going to come out and dominate the playoffs, and he's going to be 100% healthy. But
that's what you'd expect from LeBron.
But I don't know if they have an early exit and the injury sticks with him for the rest of his career, if it's going to be one of those things that just gets inflamed every time he steps on the court and he can never get back to 100%, I could definitely see him hanging it up sooner than he'd like to. But if he can come out and win another title this year, I don't see why he'd step away just yet.
Yeah, I feel like even if he comes back and keeps them in that 6th spot, I feel like that's even good momentum, showing that he can still play and still do it. Because I just don't know what it is this year, but I feel like, because last year it was all Lakers Clippers. Who's it gonna be? This season, haven't really heard about the Lakers that much. Haven't really heard about the Clippers that much. All you've really heard about is Brooklyn. and you got the Jazz and the Suns and the Clippers, all who are very good. You have the Bucks and who's right there in the
76ers.
East? 76ers. You have these teams who are creeping in here who think that they don't have any respect, and I feel like this playoffs, as well as the NHL's playoffs, is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Just because, like you said, there's one or two teams that have the spotlight on them, and there's really 4 or 5 teams on both conferences that could easily win a title as well.
Oh, look at Golden State, too. Like you said, if they end
Yeah.
up winning that play-in tournament, who knows how deep they can go?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams with a chip on their shoulder for playing really great basketball this year and not really getting the recognition they deserve. So you're gonna have a lot of teams at Brooklyn's throat in the East, and then really at the Lakers and the Clippers and Jazz in the West for the other 7 teams that are gonna have a crack at them through the play-in and playoffs. So yeah, like you said, it's gonna be a really fun playoffs this year for the NHL and the NBA. Really looking forward to both of them, and it's going to be fun for us doing what we do on this podcast to be able to break it all down for you guys really over the next month or so once we get the Stanley Cup champs and NBA champs crowned.
Yeah, it's going to be probably 2 months probably before it's all wrapped up. 2.5 months usually, depending how many game 7s you get, obviously.
Yeah, that's all I had in the NBA. I'm going to switch things over to quick to the MLB for a couple points here. The Pittsburgh Pirates second baseman Adam Frazier is putting his 11-game hit streak on the line tonight against the Reds. Pirates are sitting at the bottom of the NL Central, not really relevant team, but Frazier's on a hot streak nonetheless. I mean, kind of like Mike Trout. He's been on an irrelevant Angels team for how long, but yeah, you talk about him every year. So even if baseball is one of those games where your team could be doing shit, but if you're having a great season yourself, you're still having fun. So, and then moving over to the Brewers, kind of with the last couple points here. Wisconsin native. He's from Marshfield, Wisconsin. Jordan Zimmerman announced his retirement today from the MLB after 13 seasons. He pitched for the Washington Nationals for a stint of time and gave them their first no-hitter in franchise history. He pitched in his last game last Friday with the Brewers and ended his career with a 95-91 record with a 4.07 ERA. So, again, great to see another Wisconsin native having an admirable career.
Yeah, he pitched for UWSP, actually.
Yep. So, yeah, again, being from Wisconsin, we always love to show our Wisconsin guys some love. So, again, sticking with the Brewers, it's going to be fun. Them and the Cardinals start their heavyweight NL Central battle tonight in Milwaukee. Looks like Freddie Peralta is going to get the start over on the mound tonight in a crucial early season series. The Brewers sit, again, 2 games back from the Cardinals in the division. So if they can win the series or sweep the series, they'll move up into that number 1 spot. And then the Cardinals going into this series are behind Adam Wainwright's stellar performance against the Rockies. He pitched 8 1/3 innings, giving up 0 runs, 3 hits, and 5 strikeouts. So again, gonna be a really fun series to watch, kind of a midweek series. I feel like it'd have more hype and fun or hype and watch time if it was during the weekend, but still, it's gonna be a fun series to keep up on.
Yeah, definitely. It's always fun seeing the Central battle because it seems like every single year it is a fucking battle.
Yeah, between these 2 teams and the Cubs, it's always down to those 3 teams.
Oh, and the Reds hit every year, every third year or so, they are really good.
Yeah, it always comes down to a game, half a game. Sometimes a 130 or 63rd game has to get played to determine a division winner, stuff like that. So, yeah, the Central's always fun to watch for sure.
Yep, just waiting for that Brewers fucking month slump. Whenever they decide to pull that out.
Well, that'll come after the All-Star game. Don't worry. They'll be good up till the All-Star game, and then they'll shit the bed. So we'll get to enjoy them for the first half of the season at least. But But yeah, over in the NHL, things heating up over there. Only a couple games left around the league. What you got going on over there?
Yeah, so all of the playoff spots are now officially settled in. You have Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Montreal in the north. Vegas, Colorado, Minnesota, and St. Louis in the west. Pittsburgh, Washington, Boston, in the New York Islanders in the east. And then you have Carolina, Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Nashville Predators coming out of the central. Battles look to start next weekend. I know they've already started scheduling some of the matchups that are fully locked in place. There were only a couple battles left. I believe Montreal and Winnipeg were battling to see who plays Toronto and who plays Edmonton. And then you have the last battle between Minnesota and I believe that was
Colorado.
Yep. Minnesota and Colorado are battling. If the Avalanche get one more point, it's officially over. Or nope, just kidding. If the Avalanche pick up one win in their last two games, the Avalanche will clinch. So Avalanche win, that's settled, and Avalanche will have the home ice versus the Minnesota Wild in the first round matchup. Otherwise, if like I said, if Minnesota could win both of their games, that's getting really interesting, as it's getting to the end here, because home ice is going to matter in the playoffs. I saw a funny thing. Every single NHL team has played with fans in the stadiums so far this season, except for all of the Canadian teams. They've had 0 fans all season long, and some people are expressing concern that because how they've scheduled the playoffs for this year, for people who don't know, it's 1 versus 4 interdivision plays, whoever wins, and then 2 plays 3, whoever wins. Those 2 teams will play each other, and 1 team will be coming out of each division for the semifinals. So you're going to have a Canadian team make it out of, and then all of a sudden you're in front of packed house full fans in the playoffs, in the conference finals. And that's going to be something, I feel like all players went through that period of struggling, dead silence, to you got fans back. Like, people feed off that energy. Athletes feed off that energy. The crowds in the game, especially hockey. I know it's a lot more. You can fuck with a lot of people. I know some guy talked about, and for Dodger Stadium, how they have a guy right outside the opposing team's like dugout where he can yell, and then it travels through some pipe and it goes right into the locker room. So he can just sit there. And I guess this guy, people assume he's paid by the Dodgers, but this dude just sits there and just fucking chirps the opposing team for an hour and a half nonstop before the game starts, just trying to rattle every single person that's out there. So it's going to be interesting to see fans getting back. Excited to see where that goes. McDavid last night ended up netting 2 more points. He's up to 102. Funny moment about that game. Montreal needed 1 point to clinch their playoff spot. They ended up getting to overtime. They were all fist bumping each other and celebrating on the bench, excited that they made the playoffs. 2 minutes later, McDavid fucking puts it in the net and just gives them good old celly. And it's just like, yeah, you're going to be playing them probably in the first round, and McDavid ain't going out short this year. I feel like you're about to see some superhumanness if you haven't already seen it during the regular season. This guy is just unfucking believable. Last night, he got slashed on the hand. He got his whole finger like taped up, goes out there the next play, dangles like 3 guys and hits a guy backdoor for just a tap in. And it's just like, wow, like this I don't know. I could talk all day about Connor McDavid. He's just unbelievable to watch, and it's just so fun to watch. Sticking with legends in the game, Alex Ovechkin buys a stake in the National Women's Soccer League, Washington Spirit. That's pretty neat for Ovechkin to put some ties down in the Washington, D.C. area. Maybe he'd like to spend the rest of his life over here in America after his career's over, if he decides not to go back to Russia. Obviously, I think that'll be Putin's call, but because those guys are buddies, if you didn't know that, Putin and Ovechkin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they like shoot guns and shit and hang out and play hockey and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. how connected Ovechkin is, especially after he won the cup and when he went back over there, I guess. Putin gave him the old KGB fucking service all around the country, and he got to go everywhere, full like motorcade everywhere with the cup. So pretty cool for that. And then one of the coolest things actually, let's get before that. Philadelphia Flyers ended up winning their last game of the season last night, 4-2. A fan wrote to the Flyers, "Can Gritty please throw a cake at me?" Turns out last night during the game, Gritty full on wound up and decked this lady in the face with a full cake. It was pretty outrageous to see this happening at a fucking hockey game. But if that's what the world's coming to at this point, oh my God. But shout out to Gritty. I mean, he's one of the only mascots in the NHL that's really relevant. I mean, every team has one, but you don't really hear about any of them besides Gritty. He's just some scumbag who just rocks around.
He's kind of ugly.
Yeah, that's why people call him a scumbag. He fits the city of Philly, like Gritty, dude. Like, Philadelphia sports fans and people are fucking ruthless people. They're very hard people. A lot of people would call them scumbags, but no judging here. And that happened last night, so that's pretty cool. And then one of the biggest moments, I can say probably in all of sports so far this season, the Tampa Bay Lightning last night made history by starting Daniel Walcott, Matthew Joseph, and Jamel Smith. All three African-American forwards started the game last night for the first time in the NHL. Gives me goosebumps just talking about it, how cool that is for the league to show we support everybody. And it doesn't matter what color you are. If you can play the game of hockey, you're going to get your fair shake and you're going to be able to get your chance to play and you're going to be treated fairly. And after the game, John Cooper, the Tampa Bay Lightning coach, just came out and said, "This may be a significant moment now, but I hope this isn't a significant moment going forward as the league continues to diversify itself, that hopefully this becomes just part of the normal." And I fully agree with what he said there. I got to play with a handful of black players growing up, and them talking about the experiences that they had to face, I couldn't imagine going through that. But now you have the Hockey Alliance with the black players, and I feel like that really helped encourage the league really understand the full aspect of what was going on. I feel like it gave every team that check to double think and rethink how they were doing things and making sure, because there was a handful of general managers and coaches that were fired and stuff over the last year and a half after this whole alliance thing started because of accusations and coaches kicking players and punching guys and stuff like that and calling them names. Yeah, it's a professional sport, and some guys are okay with that. Like me as a player, you could grab me on the jersey and fucking scream in my face. I'm not going to take no offense to that because I just understand it, but not everybody is like that. Not everybody can take that. And I feel like you shouldn't be expected to have to deal with something if you don't really want to when you've made it to the top of the top in your respected sport or your respected profession. I feel like you being able to do your job and being a good person is all that should require you to be able to step in there and do your job, and you should be treated with respect and everything like that. And it's like, shout out to the NHL for being one of the lowest budgeted sports in all of sports and really leading the charge on this whole equality thing. It really it's cool to see them kick the NFL right in the nuts and say, "Hey, we don't have a fraction of the black players that you have." And we, like 85% of the NFL, I believe, is black players. And I don't know, man. It's just really neat. I'm just amazed by the NHL and what they've done and are continuing to do, especially now that the NHL is getting involved in women's hockey, trying to get their whole platform up and going since their whole COVID thing stopped. And they weren't really getting paid fair wages and all this stuff. And it's like the NHL really stepping up for equality of the sport for everybody and making it right. I think like that's really neat. And the type of people that you have involved in the community of hockey are just unbelievable people and the nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. And then to speak on that, John Tortorella, the coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, who will no longer be there after the end of the season, some lady came out, and for all the people who talk shit about John Tortorella, like I even kind of did, saying he's a hard ass, and on the bench, he's a very passionate man about the game of hockey, and he takes his job seriously, but I never knew that he was such a nice person. Some lady last night wrote on Instagram and basically described how it was meeting him when her husband became the assistant coach there, and basically how he was the nicest person she's ever met in her entire life, and how he saw homeless people like on a walk going to a restaurant, and he bought them all food, got them all hotel rooms, got them clothes, and all this stuff. I'm basically helping these people get back on their feet. And like one of these ladies even had a dog, and he got the dog food. Like, what an incredible guy for somebody to take the time out of their day, being so busy and all the stuff that he has to deal with, not only in his personal life, but with the job, and then still having the time to be that amazing of a person to stop and do something like that for somebody is just incredible. Like Shaq the other day when he bought the ring for that guy, like stuff like that is just really cool for these people who are in that position to really give back and really make things come full circle. I feel like that's really cool. And yeah, it was, I don't know. I just, just amazed more and more by the hockey community day after day. Like, and now being done, like playing in it, it's really cool to see how everything's really kind of ramped up to encourage a lot of people to play the game. Where when I was growing up, not a lot of people even really knew about hockey, like around the state of Wisconsin, as sad as that is. Like there's a handful of areas that know about hockey, but there's a lot of places that don't even know what hockey is or have ever seen a hockey game or whatever. And it's really cool now. You're starting to see the spread of it become everywhere. And I hope me talking about it on this show also helps spread the word of hockey and gets people interested in the sport. And yet again, I think it's the greatest sport of all time.
Yeah, a lot of great stories there. And yeah, again, great to see NHL take an initiative in a lot of these social issues and just heartfelt stories in general. Again, being one of the smaller market leagues known, well, if not the smallest between the NFL, NBA, MLB,
Yeah,
NHL,
it's the smallest of the major sports.
but still, their all their initiatives and stories carry just as much, if not more weight, given that where they are compared to these other leagues. So great to see that. Yeah, that's all I had for today. If you had any other points to throw in before we wrap things up.
No, that's all I got here. Excited for the interview later tonight.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great one. Looking forward to again having Jake Adams on. Be sure to watch out for that. We'll probably drop that early tomorrow for you guys to watch, listen to. Again, you can watch the video version on here on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, app, basically anywhere that has podcasts distributed, you'll find us. So be sure to check out our socials: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff. We try to keep up on top of sports headlines that happen outside of our roughly hour show every day. We try to keep up on that kind of stuff, dropping fun content pieces, memes, all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, thanks for stopping in, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And if for some reason there isn't enough sports news coming out, that interview that we do tonight will take place for our episode for tomorrow. Just just letting you guys know, but hopefully that there is some stuff comes out, just enough to where we can sit and bullshit for an hour or so. But we're at kind of the lull point in all the seasons here, as the last games are happening. Guys are getting rested. People aren't really playing. It's kind of that weird time where it's that lull before everything gets cranked to max 100% for the playoffs, which is, I personally think it's the best time of this is my favorite time of the year outside of the NFL playoffs. I do like watching the NFL playoffs. Not so, I didn't really watch many NFL games last season, to be honest. It was just different. I feel like football is one of those sports, well, I should really say every sport, but basketball, I feel like, is the least impacted by fans, just because those guys have to be able to hit those shots in an empty gym or in a packed house, and it doesn't matter. Where football, the contact sports, is really where the atmosphere of the crowd really impacts the game. I forgot who said it, but Larry Fitzgerald on a podcast that I've been listening to. It's called Subpar. It's a golf podcast. It's a really good one, actually. I don't know if you've listened to it yet, Collin, but you should check it out sometime. And they bring on just athletes, golfers, just talk about golf and shit like that. And he talks about playing in Seattle, packed house. You can't hear yourself think for like 3 days afterwards. Like, he says it's so loud, like you can't hear for like 3 days after the fact, because oh my God, like that would just be incredible to be there. Like, Lambeau, have you ever been there? Packed house, full noise.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure you have. I wonder how loud it is in Seattle, because that's where everybody says it is the loudest.
Well, it's
Or
just where
Kansas City.
that or Arrowhead. Just where
Arrowhead has
those
the
team.
biggest, right?
Yeah, they have the most. Yeah, but yeah, Seattle, just with the fact that it's basically like curved, so that
And it's outside.
the sound can't escape. Like, it all just bounces back in. And I can't remember what it was. It was like 100 some decibels for a game a few years back. They broke the record, and then I think actually
Arrowhead broke it last year. Or no, 2 years ago, when the Super Bowl, I think, when it was full stands.
Mm-hmm.
I think is when they broke that. Yeah, and that's super impressive, because that's all outside. There is no coming over the top to keep that noise in. That's, man, I just love fans, dude. I love those environments, just hearing people just scream in their lungs.
For sure.
Spending $100, $10 beers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a cheap experience, that's for sure.
No, but it's definitely worth it.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, again, we'll next time we'll see you guys is for our interview with Jake Adams. And again, if there's enough to talk about tomorrow, we will be back for some more sports news tomorrow. Otherwise, everybody have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Yeah, have a great one, everyone.